My name's Art Talmadge. We're in Ashford, Connecticut. On my farm, my wife and I own this farm here. It's called Cranberry Hill Farm. We raise heirloom vegetables, heritage breeds of chickens, and we sell mostly at farmers markets. I sell some firewood. We make maple syrup. I was a certified forester. I was working for a local sawmill. I worked for a couple different consultants, and prior to that I did construction.
I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about how your work is impacted by the weather. And
everything we do is every decision we make is pretty much weather based. A lot of those covers that we've had on the things or on the plants at the house are to help control, mediate weather extremes. That seems to be everything we do now, is try to mediate the extremes. Our strawberries didn't survive the winter too well, so the strawberry bed is kind of hurting. There's a few in there. It got so hot in April, it was like this in April, 90 degrees for a couple of days, 80s, 90s. And it was real early, late March, early April. It was so warm they tried to grow under the mulch and they used up all their energy to resprout. And then when we uncovered them, they were just gone.
Do the folks around here kind of talk about the potential for, say, climate change and how that might impact the way you manage your land?
We think about it when we manage the sugar bush, because if it warms up too much, the sugar maple trees, their range will recede northward, and then they need to produce the sugar. They need, in the spring, nights below 20 or around in the 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and between 40 and 50 during the day. And if you don't get those, then you don't get the sugar content in the sap, and then you have a poor season like we had this past year, where it got too warm too fast. Now we're in our second 90-degree heat wave here, and it's only the first week of July 2nd. So you know it's a little warmer than what's normal. You know this winter was crazy warm here. I mean, we had 90-degree days in April. So we're already dealing with it. We think about it and we know what we're dealing with, that the climate is changing, but we don't really talk about it as climate change. It's just, how do we handle it this year and go from there.
It sounds like you think that the climate is changing for one reason or another.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any kind of ideas about why it's changing?
I do. I think it's two things. I think one is that it's probably part of a natural cycle that humans have sped up. I think it would have happened probably much slower, because history tells us that the climate has changed. But I think that what we are doing, as far as cars and things like that, I think that's sped up the process.
What about people in your family, your friends and folks like that? Do they believe that humans are a part of climate change?
I know my wife does. I don't really, it's not really a topic of conversation that often. When I talk to other guys who are growing and stuff, there'd just be the comment, man, it was hotter, man, it was colder, man, it was this, and well, so what are you gonna do? And then that's the end of the conversation. It never goes beyond that to why. It just, everybody sees it happening.
Why do you think the conversation doesn't go farther?
I don't know. I think because most of the people we know are, they're so involved in, right now. I mean, what have I got to get done today? And so it's, and taking it, they may talk about it at home around the dinner table with their wives, but I don't know why. I know it's an interesting question.